One of the things that stood out to me was not only do you need to learn to ask, but you need to learn to get. And that distinction, I thought, was remarkably important. But now I'll turn it over to you, Marissa.
Well, so this is one lesson that I think we talk about abstractly a lot um, with women at certain point. This, how to use your voice. What does that look like personally and professionally? Um, and it's really, I realized over time that it's a lesson that I'd heard a lot, but not really internalized most effectively. And this is where a story is the best example, right? I always heard, oh, raise your voice, use your voice. And I think, that is part of the women's empowerment movement. We hear that a lot in terms of how we raise our young women. But there, in the reality, there's a lot of moments, even as what I thought was a confident, empowered woman myself, there's a lot of moments when I was, sitting at a table with mostly men, whether it was in the military, on an aircraft carrier, in the West Wing, where I didn't speak up as loudly, loudly being a euphemism for, speak up when I really wanted to, as often or as impactfully, persuasively as I could have or should have. Right. One of the stories I share in the book, a moment that it all comes together was, when I was in the White House working for President Obama. I was literally in my first meeting with the president, sitting around a small conference table across from the Oval Office. My first time sitting, two seats down from the leader of the free world. And in the course of the hour meeting, talking about national security, foreign policy, the issues that were my issues that I'd spent, a decade working on either in the military or, in the field and, in the Middle East. Besides introducing myself at the start of the meeting, I didn't say anything. I let others in the room speak for me, ask questions, answer questions. And it wasn't until I left that I looked back and I was like, what just happened? Like I never took my opportunity to raise my voice. Um, and it was a startling realization that I had lost practice. I had forgotten that trait. I had not practiced it enough in certain ways. And there are specific things that we can do to practice using our voice, practice helping young women or women at any age. I still sometimes have to remind myself because even as the head, the principal, the CEO of my school, when I'm with peers, I'm often with men who frankly dominate the conversation. There's more fewer statistically, women of a certain age running schools these days. It is what it is. But how do I overcome that as a leader? Um, and so, there are things we can do, and there's things that we can practice as adults, as with our children to help use our voice and then make our voice most persuasive. Because another thing I realized in looking at both the research and my own experience is that one thing, not it's a generalization, but the research holds it true, is that, by and large, women are less effective at negotiating, at being persuasive when it's about something that we need personally, whether it's salary negotiations, whether it's about, a title for a new job, whether sometimes it's even about negotiating that new position, that new responsibility in your current role. Um, Research shows that, we aren't as persuasive, aggressive, effective, lots of different words for it, as our male peers. But there are things we can do to get at that, to fix it. The system should change as well. There's nothing, please understand that I think that there's systemic ways that, women have more barriers in this regard. But for the moment, there are also things we can do as individuals to help ourselves, help the young women in our lives. And so the book talks to a lot of that because it's something that I learned over time. I didn't do as well as my male peers. Whether it's my first job out of the Navy, I realized looking around later I was underpaid and overqualified, and how did I get myself in that position? Or whether it's what I see happen with the young mentees in my life now, where I'm like, okay, just ask. Let's see what happens when you try to negotiate. So those are some of the lessons that, again, the stories in the book tell, but that came from both personal experience and research too.